Ah, that feeling. You know the one. You finish the dishes, pull the plug, and nothing. The water just sits there, looking back at you. A clogged kitchen sink has got to be one of the most annoying problems in any home, right? But don't you worry. In this explainer, we are going to walk through the absolute safest and most effective ways to get that drain flowing again.
Does this scene look a little too familiar? Yeah, if you're staring down a sink full of murky water right now, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to tackle this thing head on so you can get your kitchen back without any more plumbing drama.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll figure out what's actually causing the clog. Then we'll run through some super simple checks you should always do first. After that, we'll open up the DIY toolkit. Then, a really important part, why you should probably avoid those harsh chemicals. We'll also cover when it's time to just call a pro. And we'll finish up with a playbook to keep this from ever happening again.
You know, to really fix a problem, you first have to understand it. So let's play detective and take a look at what's really going on down inside your pipes.
So it's usually a combination of these three things that team up against you. First up, cooking grease. You pour it down the drain when it's liquid, but guess what? It cools down in the pipes and turns solid, creating this sticky, gunky trap. Then you've got all those little food particles that get rinsed off plates. They get stuck right in that greasy mess. And to top it all off, soap buildup hardens over time, and boom, you've got yourself a serious blockage. Okay, before we start grabbing wrenches and getting all serious, let's cover the basics. You'd be surprised how often the simplest fix is all you need, and it can save you a ton of time and effort.
First things first, if you can, get that standing water out of there. It just makes everything else way less messy. Then, just take a look right there at the drain opening. See any gunk you can just pull out? Make sure your sink stopper isn't stuck or causing the issue. And now for the most important part. If you have a garbage disposal, turn the power off. Not just the switch on the wall, go to your circuit breaker and flip it off before you even think about looking inside. Seriously, safety first.
All right, so the simple checks didn't cut it. It's time to roll up our sleeves. We're going to look at 3 hands-on mechanical methods, starting with the easiest one and working our way up. These are your best friends for fighting clogs.
First up to bat is the good old plunger. And nope, it's not just for toilets. The right kind of plunger can be a real superstar for a clogged sink, and it's absolutely the first tool you should try.
Now, using a plunger is all about technique. Make sure you're using a cup-shaped one, not the kind with the extra flap that's for toilets. Add a little bit of water to the sink, enough to cover the rubber cup. That water is what gives you power. Now, get a really tight seal over that drain and then give it several firm, sharp plunges up and down. That pressure is what's going to break that clog free.
So the plunger didn't work its magic? That probably means your clog is a little deeper in the pipes. Time to level up to our next tool, the drain snake, or what some people call a hand auger. Think of this like sending a little probe down into the darkness to find and destroy the clog. You're going to slowly feed the snake's cable down into the drain. Once you feel it stop, you've found the blockage. Now start rotating the handle. That'll either break the clog up or hook onto it. Then just carefully pull the snake back out and hopefully the clog comes with it. When you're done, flush that drain with lots of hot water to clear out anything left behind.
Okay, the plunger didn't work. The snake came up empty. Your sink is still clogged. Well, there's a very, very high chance that the problem is sitting right under your sink in that U-shaped pipe. This brings us to our final DIY method, cleaning out the P-trap.
So let's pause for a second. What the heck is a P-trap anyway? It's actually a pretty clever bit of plumbing. That U-shape is designed to hold a little bit of water all the time, and that water acts as a barrier to stop smelly sewer gases from coming up into your kitchen. The only problem? That same curve is the absolute perfect place for grease, food, and all that other gunk to build up and get stuck.
All right, let's do this. First step, and trust me on this, put a bucket under the pipe. It's going to catch some pretty gross water and debris. Next, you're going to loosen the 2 big nuts at each end of that U-bend. They're called slip nuts. Once they're loose, the pipe will come right off. Empty everything into the bucket, clean out the pipe itself, and then put it all back together. Just tighten the nuts until they're snug, not so tight that you crack the plastic. Then run the water and check for any leaks.
Now we need to have a very important talk. I know how tempting it is to just grab a bottle of that chemical drain cleaner from the store. It promises a super fast fix, but that quick fix can come with some serious problems.
Let's just put it side by side. The mechanical fixes we just talked about, the plunger, the snake, the P-trap, they physically pull the blockage out.
They are safe for you and for your pipes. But those harsh chemicals, they can be really dangerous to handle. We're talking skin burns, toxic fumes, and what's worse, they can actually eat away at your plumbing, especially if you have older pipes. And sometimes they don't even work. Now you've just got a sink full of dangerous caustic liquid.
So here's the bottom line, and this is advice you'll hear from pretty much any professional plumber. Just don't rely on harsh chemicals as your first option. The risk is almost never worth the reward.
You know, being a smart DIYer isn't just about knowing how to do things. It's also about knowing when not to. So let's talk about the signs that tell you it's time to put down the tools and call for backup. Okay, here are the big red flags. If water is backing up in your sink and your dishwasher at the same time, that's a problem. If you hear loud, repeated gurgling sounds coming from your drains, that's another clue. Or if you manage to clear a clog, but it just comes right back a week later, yeah, something bigger is going on. All these things usually mean the clog isn't just under your sink. It's probably deep down in your home's main plumbing line. And that, my friends, is a job for a pro.
Okay, you did it. The clog is gone, the water is flowing, everything is great, awesome. Now, how do we make sure you never have to do that again? Let's get into the most important part of all, prevention. Here is your simple guide to a happy clog-free kitchen. Do scrape your plates into the trash before you rinse them. Don't think of your sink as a second garbage can. Do pour your cooled cooking grease into an old coffee can or a jar and just throw it out. Please don't pour it down the drain. Do use a little mesh strainer to catch any bits you miss. And don't assume your garbage disposal can handle everything, because it can't. And finally, do run some hot water for a minute or so after you do the dishes, and don't ever ignore a slow drain. That's the first warning sign.
And there you have it. You are now fully equipped with the know-how to not only fight that next annoying clog safely, but more importantly, to stop it from ever showing up in the first place. So, are you ready to keep your drains clear for good? Thanks for tuning in.